All right, welcome back to the Malapert Smart Podcast. I got Vlad, the wrestling expert. I got Robert. We just got done talking AEW, some WWE from this week. We try to squeeze in some classic wrestling if we could. This week, I want to talk about WCW right after Hulk Hogan turned heel, became a bad guy at Bash at the Beach on July 7th, 1996. So we're back at 1996 now. We all know the story. I'm not going to go through it. The Outsiders, Hall and Nash came in from WWF to invade, sort of. There was a blurred line between whether it was real or not. Hogan was the mystery partner for them at Bash at the Beach. Nobody knew who it was going to be, and Hogan came in and dropped the pig leg on Randy Savage, yeah. And the rest is history, as they say. Well, we see that scene a lot, that Bash at the Beach scene, all the time. But we don't really see what happens in the following Monday Nitros. So I thought I'd go over just the following month, 4 shows, and show you like a little bit of each one. So we could kind of see what happened back then. And just a little bit of a preface. Me and Vlad got into wrestling. We both grew up at the same time. Both got into wrestling because of NWO. And then that turned into dueling storylines on WWF TV and WCW TV. And wrestling became really popular at that time. They were getting like 5-6 million viewers sometimes on each episode, which is crazy compared to now. But
sometimes even more.
All right, that's enough for background. Let's watch some clips. So the Monday after, you guys were talking earlier about how the guy in the devil mask storyline in AEW is dragging on and on and on and on. But back in the days, things kind of went slow too. So right after Bash at the Beach, you'd expect Hogan to be at that Nitro. But no, he wasn't there. They told it the whole time. They're like, he won't be here. He'll be here next week. He's doing a movie. So, okay, talk about slow progressing angles. This whole month was kind of slow progressing, I think, but eventually it did pick up. But we're just focusing here on July 96. So on the whole Monday Nitro after, throughout the whole episode, they were talking about how everyone's disappointed in him, and they were getting like little interviews from people. And Eddie Guerrero's fighting Psychosis here, and they're gonna go to Rey Mysterio and get a comment from him.
I don't know how to explain this, but there was much confusion in all of our minds, especially the little kids. They were crying. They were very disappointed.
The kids were
crying. I'm very disappointed on who the third person was. I don't think that's fair for all of us. To all my Mexican friends.
The acting, but okay. It's early Rey Mysterio.
Yo sé que están bien disgustados con lo que pasó anoche. Se dieron cuenta de la realidad. Y yo me siento bien disgustado porque nos traicionó.
Okay, whatever. So he's consoling the Mexican people for Hulk Hogan turning heel. It's like, I know you guys are all disappointed.
Yeah.
But at the end of the show, we did get an appearance from Hall and Nash during this Sting Arn Anderson fight. Hall and Nash did show up to cause a little bit of distraction, but without Hogan. The security had to escort them out. But Hall and Nash would beat up any wrestlers and stuff. These fat security guards were standing in the way. But I guess they didn't want to take them out here. It was just like a tease till the next episode. You know what I mean? But they get escorted out and they walk out. Let me move on to the next week, July 15th. Let's see what happened on July 15th. Remember Lean Mean Kevin Green, Vlad?
Kevin Green,
player?
Sure.
Yeah, so he's going to cut a promo here. But he's also comment on Hogan.
Mean Gene, I tell you what, I am upset like everybody is.
Everybody
about Hulk Hogan.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Unbelievable how he has stabbed all the little Hulkamaniacs in the back. Everything he's preached at over the years, I've done. I've taken my vitamins. I've said my prayers. I've worked out hard. And I've become an all-pro in the NFL. And then
taking his steroids.
He doesn't believe a thing that he was preaching.
He had to be a hero of yours when you were a kid.
He was a hero. I looked up to him. Heck, I was a Hulkamaniac. And then he stabbed everybody in the back. Unbelievable.
Speaking of backstabbers, Kevin Green, I'm talking about you know who.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's
Mongo
the main
McMichael.
reason why I'm here. I'm looking for Mongo.
Well, anyways, he's trying to feud with Mongo McMichael, but that's another thing. There were other interviews, too. This is 2 weeks after what happened with Hogan, and still everyone's like, I can't believe it. So, here's a match between Lex Luger and Big Bubba Rogers, the last night of the match. And finally, Hogan makes an appearance for the first time as a bad guy. And Jimmy Hart's there trying to help his guy, Bubba Rogers. But Kevin Nash and Scott Hall show up to destroy Lex Luger, basically.
They are hammering away at Luger, who is all alone in there.
And here comes Hogan with a big smile on his face as a bad guy. This is kind of the first time people started rooting for bad guys and thinking they were cool. Not necessarily the fans in that arena right there, but a lot of people started to think like it was kind of funny to just be a horrible bad person and come beat people up and destroy them. So they're gonna destroy Lex Luger here, slap him around, destroy Bubba Rogers, whoop his ass too. And then Hogan cuts a promo here challenging Giant for the WCW title because he's gonna try to win some titles for the NWO, right? So let's move on to July 22nd, the third show after Bash at the Beach. Let's see what happens here.
Some word that we have some disruptions going on.
This is the one where there's an 8-man tag between the Dungeon of Doom and a team with Alex Wright and some random guys. They got word that something was going on in the back, and Hall and Nash walk into the production truck and they're gonna fuck.
They're in the control room now.
Hold on, what do we got here?
What does that do? What's that?
Oh! Fade to black.
Woo! Wait a second.
Oh, should have bought that cheap TV.
Wait a, they are completely hijacking this program. We need to get security. They could completely cut us off the air right now.
You better not touch my microphone.
Well, they don't. They can touch it from in there, Larry.
Better get a house on wheels. Better get a house on wheels. Won't be around here long.
They hijacked the show during this match. The match is going on, but they're just going to show this for like a few minutes, like a handful of minutes, but they're still going to finish that match. I'm going to skip to the end, though. When they cut back to the match, then Giant is here to accept Hogan's, because he was in the Dungeon of Doom, so Dungeon of Doom was in that match. So when that match ended, Giant came out. He's like, well, if you want to fight Hogan, sure. I've been here all these years and months while you've been off making movies, and I've been dominating. So that's how they set up that match. But finally, when something really, really happened on this show was the following week, the last one, July 29th, the last one before like a pay-per-view they got in Korea, Collision in Korea. But it took 4 episodes for things to really heat up. So there was a match between WCW guys against the Dungeon of Doom, which Jimmy Hart is a part of. And they're still trying to carry on with the feuds they were having before the NWO thing happened. But during this match, Jimmy Hart comes out and he wants help from the WCW guys. Everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're not going to help you. Some people thought it was like a ruse, like he's trying to distract them to help their guys. But he's like, hey, come on, something's happening in the back. I'm going to let it play from here for about 5 minutes, maybe.
The back there, and Jimmy Hart's up on the apron of the ring. Jimmy Hart is up on the apron of the ring, and this is not a Dungeon of Doom.
There's Jimmy Hart over here.
This is not the place for a Dungeon of Doom. This is serious business here. Look at him. What's he doing? He's going berserk. He's trying to stop this match. He's trying to get anybody he can to help. And he's got the attention of Lex Luger. He better get out of there. They're going to nail him. Get out of there, Jimmy. He said we need help. Where are they going? They're going. Luger, Sting. Wait a minute.
There's Double A, Arn Anderson. There's Hall and Nash.
There they are. They got baseball bats.
Who's that? That's Marcus Bagwell on the floor. Whoop their ass off there. Here's Marty Jannetty. He's friends with Marcus Bagwell. Bonked on the head.
That was Scotty Riggs.
Oh, it was? Oh, it was Riggs. Oh, my bad. There's Rey Mysterio. Damn. Scott Hall caught him.
Champion Rey Mysterio. Oh, no.
Throws him into the dressing room
Into the trailer.
wall.
He threw him like he was a
Trailer.
Arn Anderson, the first man we saw down. All 6 wrestlers have left the ring.
So there's no Hogan in this episode, but Hall and Nash are fucking with everybody.
This match
And then they
is gonna
jump
be a
in the
double
limo
count
and run away. There comes Macho Man.
Yeah, this was fantastic. Yeah, I remember that. I haven't seen it on top of the limo.
Oh, my God. I don't know if we can... The Macho Man is grabbing through the limousine. I told you he's nuts. And people are standing here. This is too much. Where's all this security we had here? All right, let's listen in. Let's just... There's Mysterio. There's the American males. Oh, my God.
There's chaos everywhere. There's Arn Anderson.
Ladies and gentlemen, we apparently had some very serious injuries. Eddie! And we have to take a break?
It looks like mayhem, dude. They're selling this to the max. Did you hear "woman" there, by the way? Nancy Benoit,
Sure.
Chris
Yeah,
Benoit's
she was
wife.
there. Yeah.
Mongo yelled out, "They can't just come in here and do whatever the hell they want." And then woman yells out, "Somebody call an ambulance." Better rewind this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we apparently have some very serious injuries. Eddie! And we have to take a break? Eddie, what happened? All right.
So this show is going to be in the back here for the next 23 minutes. They're going to put all these people into ambulances. We'll watch a little bit more of it. We're not going to watch all of it, but here's Arn Anderson.
The thing I can say is that we need a listener look in because we have some serious injuries, maybe career-ending injuries here at the hands of two of the most underhanded cowards I've ever seen or been around in my life.
Don't touch it. Let's skip forward a little bit. Rey Mysterio's like dead. Eddie Guerrero's watching him. All the people in this scene too. This is like a really cool scene with like a lot of famous wrestlers.
Am I hearing this right?
Oh, Ray said there was 4 of them. I forgot who became the 4th man. There comes the ambulance. See, it's not like today when they have the ambulance ready and then just throw them in there like they had to drive here. It's a good segment. If you guys want to watch this, this is July 29th, 1996. You could probably catch it on the WWE network. There's Eddie Guerrero watching his friend Rey Mysterio get thrown. It looks realistic. That looks a little realistic. The acting isn't horrible. It's still wrestling. It's still a little funky, but it's not like today, you know, it's not tongue-in-cheek. Anyway, so only 8 minutes into this video. This is going to go for 25 minutes. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's kind of cool. But I'll give you guys some time to comment. Vlad, there's a lot in there. I know you were a big fan of this era. You probably even saw this episode live. But I'm going to give you 5 minutes to say whatever you want about it.
This really was the beginning of what made wrestling really good in the 90s. Prior to this, wrestling, both companies, WWF, now, WCW, were kind of going through some kind of, not really anything interesting angles. Stories were kind of bland. It was too ridiculous. It was kind of for kids. This really brought it back to the realism that wrestling needed. And I know you're saying that comparing it to
AEW and modern wrestling.
Yeah. Well, in the sense of like, oh, well, you know, they might drag out this devil story for a while, but the devil story is dumb. You know,
that comment. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, like how they're dragging this out over weeks and weeks and weeks. Yeah, you're like, it's worth it in this case.
If it's good TV, then it's fine. You can drag it out. Like they dragged out Sting and Hogan for over a year, right? So you can drag stuff out sometimes if it's captivating TV and the angles are good. This was a golden time for them. This was the beginning of their golden rise, basically, at WCW. This was their 2-year stretch where they were hitting on all cylinders, basically. So it really depends on a lot of different things why all of this worked. I think one of the main reasons that it worked is because we hadn't seen this in a while in wrestling at that time. I know this type of realism was done through the territory days, but this was 10 years since the 80s.
Yeah, and the first time it's on a national level, too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. This is now turned and everybody's watching. So this was really good. And, of course, the Hogan heel turn was all well done, and everything that came after it was great as well. So there was a lot of realism. I mean, people were going crazy for this because this was really captivating stuff. I will say this for Tony Schiavone. He kind of looks better now than he did then. So give credit to Tony. Give credit to Tony for...
He aged well.
He aged pretty decent because this.
He's a little thinner. I don't know if he looks better. He's got a weird goatee and an earring now. Like, okay.
Well, maybe he's having a midlife crisis, but he still doesn't look like he was like in that poor shape. But anyways, this was fantastic stuff, and everybody was involved. Every like major star was involved. Macho Man jumping onto the limo. I remember that scene very vividly. Well, obviously, I remember Rey Mysterio being thrown into the control room or whatever the hell that room was. That was obviously something that they showed for years. But this was great stuff all the way across the board. Even the slower stuff, as you said, was really good. And as far as who the fourth member was, I want to say it was the Giant, but I'm not sure. I think so.
Giant is about to fight Hogan for the title, so I don't know if that happened that quickly, but I don't know. Maybe we'll continue on with whatever happened here as like a side story for our show here. But listen, while you're thinking about that, let me jump to Robert. Robert, I know you've probably, I don't know if you've seen this before. What'd you think?
No, I did not watch that episode. I very rarely watch WCW in full episodes during that time.
So this was interesting to you.
So it was interesting to me. But I have watched a lot of documentaries about the Attitude Era and what led to that. So there were tiny snippets of what you showed. I did see snippets of that, like especially when Rey Mysterio was thrown onto the wall and when Macho Man hung onto the limo. I saw those tiny snippets, but I never saw it in its entirety like that, what you just showed. So that was cool to watch.
I feel like we have to cleanse our palate a little bit, as they say, because we watch so much modern wrestling and we just kind of make fun of it. But you know what? I'm showing you the best parts of this. To be honest, when I was going through it, I felt like there was a lot of things on these shows that were also kind of a waste of time. Not as much as AEW, though, because a lot of these matches had a purpose. Even if you were watching like a long technical match, it was going to lead to something. If they're putting someone over, it's for a reason. But there were some clunker matches as well, I think, and especially in this era, because this is kind of like a middle ground area when the NWO comes in, and they also have a lot of the same bullshit that they had before. So, you know, sure, Hogan turned heel, but the show didn't really change at this minute. It wasn't going to change in like a second. But over the next few months, it kind of morphed into something completely different and cooler. NWO even took over Nitro and called it the NWO Nitro. So it definitely progressed, but it was slow progressing. So I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of put these into digestible segments for people to watch on YouTube here, because I don't think people want to sit for like 5 hours. So how do I explain the story of what happened here in a quick way? I don't know. Maybe I'll go month by month like this, and we'll continue the story maybe every week in addition to our modern wrestling talk. At least have something interesting from the old days to talk about. But unless anyone has anything else to say about this, I would like to conclude our episode and thank my esteemed panel very much for coming on today and goofing around with me and talking wrestling, because like I said earlier, this is the life. This is the life, not the real life that's very difficult and you have to work and make money and make sure your family doesn't starve and all that, food in your family's mouths. But we don't need to think about that all the time. We could just think about silly stuff, and wrestling is my silly stuff. I love wrestling, man. I thank you guys for coming on, and I thank anyone who subscribed or wants to watch some more videos in the future. Please subscribe. Don't forget. Other than that, fare thee well, Vlad. Fare thee well, Robert. Until the next time I see you guys.